Hello, my name is Brad Cleveland. I'm a student in RA bachelor's program, and I'm doing my podcast on Joe Chiccarelli for the ASR Producers Podcast. I chose Joe Chiccarelli because he's worked on several albums that I really enjoy in the last few years, such as The Shins' "Wincing the Night Away," My Morning Jacket's "Evil Urges," and Minus the Bears' "Omni," as well as several other records that I've listened to in my life. And he has a great idea of how to get old school type sounds using new techniques and using a lot of analog gear and digital type gear. And but he's mostly an analog guy, which is why I respect him and I look up to him. So Joe Chiccarelli had a very modest start, just like many of us would like to have as we leave our school. He got started with a job that he got through a family member in Boston at a local Boston studio. And he first really came to prominence as a known producer when he was sitting in on one of Frank Zappa's sessions, and one of his engineers didn't show up, so Frank Zappa got tired of waiting around for him, and he said, "Joe, I need you to do this for me." Joe stepped up, and he ended up working a lot on the album called Chic Your Booty. He made a great impression, continued to work in many genres, but mostly within the pop rock genre. He would work with best-selling artists from then on, such as Oingo Boingo, Bon Jovi, Brian Wilson, Counting Crows, The Shins, The White Stripes, The Strokes. He just finished working on the Strokes album with them titled Angles that came out this year. He's been given 8 Grammys, and his most recent one he received for his work on Consolers of the Lonely, which is an album by the Raconteurs, which is Jack White's band outside of the White Stripes. He has also had experience designing studios, as he worked on a 10,000 square foot state of the art studio in Burbank, California called Royal Tone. Helped design that and lay it out. So he's got a wide knowledge of recording, and I think he's someone everyone should look up to and aspire to be like in our industry. His projects have been very appealing to me as a fan of rock and roll music, because I'm really into alternative rock and roll myself, and that's something that he seems to gravitate towards. He must be a fan of it himself. His ability to send a band in a new direction and keep their kind of sound intact is also pretty impressive, like he's done with on that album Evil Urges with My Morning Jacket. He was able to keep their kind of jam southern sound together, southern rock kind of sound, and he was also able to kind of pinpoint it into something that was radio friendly and would impact a lot of people. He also tends to use a lot of very clean tones. He gets very good drum sounds, very big drum sounds, and I've always admired the drums on all of his records. That's one of the first things that really sticks out to me. So I aspire to be more like Joe, and I hope one day to meet him and work with him. In closing, I just wanted to mention several other well-known artists that Joe Chiccarelli has worked with, such as U2, Beck, Melissa Etheridge, Elton John, Rufus Wainwright, The Strokes, The White Stripes, Manchester Orchestra, Brian Wilson, Bon Jovi, and The Stranglers, to mention a few. And his list goes on and proves that if you just keep working and get out there, you can make a name for yourself and really have an effect on the future of music.